Mshololo continues to drag the state's case for dirt. WhatsApp calls were only introduced in 2015 in South Africa. So if Host says he received a sealed bag and Stain analyzed the phone before Host, how was the bag still sealed?
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Pink felt like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull in a 10. Like Gabby, Stacy, all of the Barbies is pretty. Damn, all of the Barbies is bad.
Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nogwazi Ntombela, also known as Gwazi Bear on all social media platforms. Do subscribe, be a part of this family, and if you're returning Sabi, welcome back, darling. Now guys, we are back in court after our long adjournment of about a week and a half, and I am here to update you guys as to what happened in court during this week. Before we get into the proceedings, please make sure that you click the like button and also share this video so that we reach a greater audience. Also, don't forget to comment down below, but most importantly, please do not skip ads. Make sure that you watch the ads so that we're able to make money on this channel. Anyway, let's get into the proceedings. So on Monday the 13th, we were expecting Mr. Host to come back and we continue with the cross-examination by advocates Mnisi, Ngumalo and Mshololo. However, it wasn't to be. On Monday, when we came back, Sibande started reading the bank transactions again for the accused, and because there was an agreement between the defense and the state with regards to the statement, the judge then decided that the statements or the transactions should not be read into the record because it is by agreement that these are submitted. Now, the interesting thing about all these records that Sibanda wanted to read into the record is that most of the transactions that Sibanda was focusing on were with regards to accused number one, who had put a version that he was not in Johannesburg during 2014. However, the transactions on his statements do prove that there were sort of withdrawals and transactions that were done in Johannesburg during the year 2014. So we then stopped on Monday where the judge stopped Sibande from reading these records because the defense agrees to the transactions, and it came to our attention that the state had no witnesses lined up for the day, thinking that the state was prepared to read these transactions for 2 days, because Sibande then says he doesn't have any witnesses lined up for today because he thought he'd be reading these transactions, and he doesn't have any witnesses lined up for Tuesday, which was the 14th of May, and therefore we would only be able to resume on Wednesday, which was 15th of May. What is surprising to me is the fact that was the fact that there was an arrangement with Mr. Host to come back on Monday. He had said he wasn't available the whole of last week, so the judge took the decision to postpone the case until the 13th. Now on the 13th, suddenly Host is not available and will only become available on Wednesday, which was the day in which Baloyi would come back to court. So court was postponed until Wednesday, where Mr. Host did indeed come back and the defense was ready to cross-examine Mr. Host. And it came to our attention that the state now has a new statement from Mr. Host based on the new evidence that he had been analyzing. So the argument that went on in court was with regards to the leading of the evidence. So what Mr. Baloyi, the state, wanted to do is get Mr. Host to read his new statement onto the record, and then cross-examination continues. However, the defense was of the view that because the defense was already in the middle of cross-examination, if the state decides they want to lead new evidence, that will be on the state's that will be the state's decision, but that can only be done once the cross-examination is complete, which made sense to me, not being a person that knows the law, but all along the process that I've been seeing being followed in courts is that the state leads the witness, the defense cross-examines, the state re-examines, and if there are any questions arising, then the defense will obviously ask those questions. And now having to stop a witness from cross-examination in the middle of cross-examination, mind you, accused number 1 and 2's counsels were done with their cross-examination. We were on accused number 3's defense, so it didn't make sense to now go back to the state leading the witness, and then after that restart the cross-examination. It really did not make sense to me, and that was the decision that was taken. They continued with the cross-examination. Mnisi, for accused number 3, cross-examined the witness, and there wasn't much from Mnisi's cross-examination. Then Nxumalo for accused number 4 came, and he was slow poison, if you ask me, because he took the witness step by step through all these numbers, asking very relevant questions. And what stood out for me from Nxumalo's cross-examination, which was a drop mic moment for him, was that at the end, there's a new number that they recently introduced and said belonged to accused number 3. Now, with this new number, fortunate enough, they are Section 205s from 2014. Reason being, if you think about it, accused number 3 was said to have been arrested in 2015 for another case that isn't related to the Senzo Meyiwa case. Now, obviously, if he was arrested in 2015, the police that did investigations on that particular case did do Section 205s on that case, and the information was available. Now, when Gininda and his team arrested accused number 3 on the Senzo Meyiwa case, if they did do Section 205s, the data would only be available for 3 years prior. That is what has been told to us in court. So based on the fact that he was arrested for the Senzo Meyiwa case in 2020, the only information that they would have on accused number 3 was back to 2017. So now this just proves that what the state has been doing, or the investigating officers have been doing in this particular case, is taking Section 205s from other cases. I said this, I think, in my previous video, and now this is just proof of that, because this particular number for accused number 3, which is said to be used by accused number 3, now all of a sudden is coming up in this case, and there is data from 2014. The very interesting question that Nxumalo asked was there any communication between this now new number and accused number 4? And Host was like, nope, nothing. Was there any communication between that number and the number which is said to belong to accused number 2? And Host says no. Okay, was there any communication with any of the other accused? And the answer is no. So now my question is, these people are said to have conspired to kill Senzo. We now have cell phone records for at least one of them on the date in which the incident occurred. And on that date, there aren't any communications between that number and the numbers of the said 4 other accused in this case. So this is very, very interesting to me, and we will see how the state tries to spin this one. Today is Thursday the 16th, and Nxumalo completed his cross-examination yesterday on Wednesday, and Mshololo was now set to commence her cross-examination of Mr. Khos. And Mshololo came ready for war. You hear me? She came ready for war because she went to ask several questions about the dates and the communication and all that. The first thing that she pounced on was the fact that Mr. Host says he received a sealed bag when he had to analyze this particular phone or this particular Section 205. Now, the interesting thing about that fact is that Mohane did testify in court and said that he collected the bag with the cell phone and the CD from the SAP-13 to take it for testing. Now, Mr. Host didn't become a part of this trial until September 2023. The first person who was said to analyze the data is Mr. Steyn. So now, if Mr. Steyn analyzed the data and he came to testify in court in August last year, or July, he came to testify in July last year, how is it that the same bag that had the cell phone and the CD is still sealed when it reaches Host? How did Steyn analyze the data in that cell phone? That was a very interesting question by Mshololo, and I'm still raising eyebrows to the question, because if Host says he received a sealed bag and Steyn analyzed the phone before Host, how was the bag still sealed? As Mshololo was leading this evidence with regards to the dates in which the testimony took place, the judge interrupts Mshololo. So Mshololo was about to say I want to refer you to, and then the judge suddenly says, how are you going to refer this witness to that on the 16th of February because this witness was not here? And then host as well goes in and says, no, I didn't testify on the 16th of February and Mshololo is like, not waiting for me to complete my question is wrong. And that was directed to the judge. Mshololo is savage. Basically, that got the judge quiet for the remainder of the proceedings. Another interesting thing that Mshololo touched on is that this number that they keep linking to accused number 5 is said to be Lungsani Ndwandwe's number. Now, Mshololo says in front of the court that she had called this Lungsani character, and Lungsani says he's been using this number for the longest time, and this number doesn't belong to accused number 5. And Mshololo basically says that she will be, she can even call Lungsani right now in court so that we can hear what he has to say. And the judge says, no, you know that that's not allowed. So unless you're going to say you're going to call this Lungsani to come to court. So what is this Lungsani's surname? So Mshololo requests for a short adjournment just so that she can call this Lungsani character who is said to own this number and find out his surname. So she requests a short adjournment, and indeed after the adjournment she comes back and she tells us that it is Lungsani Ndwandwe and he is prepared to come before the court and testify that he has been using this number. So the allegations that this number is linked to accused number 5 and accused number 5 was contacting these people is not the correct assumption. We are currently on a lunch break, and I will come back after lunch to update you guys as to what happened after lunch and also what will be taking place tomorrow, which is Friday. We are back after the lunch break, and the judge will not beat the allegations that he is witness number 100 for the state. He is biased and he is constantly defending these witnesses. Oh my gosh. So after the break, we had hosts coming and correcting yet again his statement on the stand, because before the lunch break, accused number 5 had raised his hand to basically give Mshololo his version with regards to the evidence that Gous was leading. And when the accused actually raised his hand and told Mshololo that, Gous then realized that, oh no, I'm actually giving information on the wrong number. So now he needs to do another statement correcting this 4th or 5th statement that he's already given in the case. Crazy business. But we continued with the cross-examination with Mshololo, and she decided that we will pause for today and she will continue with her cross-examination tomorrow. We cannot wait to hear what the cross-examination will bring tomorrow, so I'll see you guys tomorrow again. It's Friday and we're back in court with Mshololo continuing her cross-examination. Guys, when I say Mshololo continues to drag the state's case for dirt, I mean it, because today, when she continued with her cross-examination of Mr. Gous, she then leads Mr. Gous into saying this was the evidence that was provided by Stain. He said that accused number 5 communicated with Kelly Khumalo on these 2 dates, the 15th of October and the 2nd of August in 2014, and the calls were this duration. And Mr. Gous says, well, I wasn't sure, but I can see that that was what the record is saying. And then Mshololo says, and you, when you testified in February, you said that there was communication between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo on these 2 dates as well. And he says, yes, indeed, that is so. Then she says, well, now we're going to go into the section 205s, because I have the section 205 for Kelly Khumalo, which was prepared by Pinky from Vodacom, and she basically hands over the exhibit to Mr. Gous and says, can you see on that section 205 where these two communicated on these dates? Baloyi objected, saying it's not fair that Mshololo is asking Mr. Gous on the evidence of another witness or the statement of another witness. She should therefore basically pose those questions to the person from Vodacom. They will be calling them in, and so forth and so forth. Now, the funny thing is, Baloyi, first, the other day, he mentioned something about having duplicate numbers. Second thing is that he mentioned today, now the fact that, well, you never know, there could have been WhatsApp calls and etc. etc. Guys, WhatsApp calls were only introduced in 2015 in South Africa. So, Baloyi, I don't know what you're playing at, but it's not going to work. WhatsApp calls were introduced in 2015 March in South Africa. So it couldn't have been that Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5 were communicating via WhatsApp. That's the first thing. Second thing, Vodacom on Twitter, because South Africans are wild. South Africans took to Twitter and asked Vodacom, how possible is it that people can have duplicate numbers and so on and so forth. I'll attach a screenshot right over here where Vodacom responds and says, no, ma'am, no, thank you, Asizi. It can never be. So we cannot wait for the Vodacom expert to come and actually explain this to us in court, because that is what Baloyi has put to us. Mshololo has completed her cross-examination, and the state has indicated that they want to reopen their case and basically lead new evidence with Mr. Host with regards to the cell phone evidence. So on Monday, we are hoping that we will continue with the state leading the evidence and cross-examination of the new information to be held. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I will see you next week, Friday. Bye.